Thank you for your presence. God, we know that you have a special message for us today, and we just want to be a part of it. Speak to our hearts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, the title of this message is God is making you, or He's making me, into something. He's doing something. And the verse I want to jump off on first so that we can get an idea, and it happens to be that there's verses that you can read, and you know this. You could read them like 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe all your life. And then something will pop out of a favorite verse of yours that you didn't see before. And I had that experience when I was reading over in Romans. And it said in Romans that, and you know what it says with this verse, where it talks about Abraham. The portion that I'm going to read is that, I have made you the father of many nations. We've heard that so many times. But when I was looking at it, and this is where this message sort of formulated and came together, is that I have made you. You know, sometimes we think that we're self-sufficient, we have everything under control. Robin this morning, no, that's not the case. God has everything under control. But we think sometimes, and we hear about it, and we even admire people sometimes, that they're self-made, that they did it on their own. You know, that there's something about it. It's kind of a Hollywood image. But in God's terms or way of doing things, God is the one that makes. And He's up to something in each and every one of our lives. And whether we know it or not, He's making us into something better. And He's at it right now. Sometimes we think that, okay, I recognize that I'm getting, to the place where maybe you don't have to work as hard, and you're thinking that God's going to sort of lighten up a little bit. And what I mean by that is you can kind of be like a cow going out to pasture and just sort of just roam around and really just take it easy. But I've noticed every year there's always a challenge or something new, and it's always not necessarily a work or a heavy thing to do, but God always has something fresh, something new. Every day when we wake up, there's something cooking, and we can be a part of it. And so God is making us into something. And I want to jump off in the area where it's a kind of a good backdrop of what I'd like to talk about. And it's in Judges, chapter 6 and chapter 8. And I'm in the beginning of chapter 6. And I want to just mention this really quick. I can really relate to Gideon. And that's what we're going to talk about. I don't know that you find a Bible character in the Bible where you feel like, well, I can really relate to that person. A lot of people like to say, well, I could relate to John. He was such a loving, compassionate person. He always had his head on Jesus' shoulder. Or I could relate to Mary, I think it was Mary. That was at Mary. She was at Jesus' feet all the time, just soaking up His presence and just wanting to, be by Him, always pressing in. And this is Mary, and, I can relate to Mary. But Gideon, I can relate to Gideon. And I know it's not about me, but I think you'll find, too, that there's characteristics about him that we can all relate to. And in the story of Gideon, we find out that, I'll just sort of paraphrase things, that Israel was constantly under attack by the Amorites and the Midianites. And what they would do is they would come into the country, and when they came into the country, they would steal their crops. They would steal their sheep. They would steal the cattle. They would steal the donkeys. And they would totally ravage the land, and they would leave nothing left. So you kind of get an idea about what's happening there. And I think we can kind of relate to that. There's times where we feel like everything is coming up a dead end. And no matter how much we try, it just seems like you take a few steps this way and you go back a few steps that way. And so Gideon, he's in this place where things are not working out for him. And I think when I read this, okay, it's not a good plight that Gideon is in and Israel's in, but I had to laugh, and I'm going to tell you why. I just had to laugh, because you probably didn't catch it, but when I read that through with the different things that they would steal, I was looking at that, and it says they stole the donkeys. Well, they had donkeys. And the idea is that when the Amorites and the enemies, they came to Israel, they came like locusts, and they were on their camels. And I've been in a place where I've had to deal with a lot of donkeys. Okay, things aren't going right. There's nothing wrong with a donkey. It's faithful and good. But there's been times I've been driving down the road in a car that I could call a donkey. It has a hole in the floor, a hole in the door. Somebody hit it, and I said, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We don't have to, collect insurance and do these things. In fact, it might have even made the truck look better with a little dent on the side. And so the idea is that, and I think Gideon was like this. When is it going to get better? Why am I down at this level where it just seems like I have to look up for everything? It seems like my life is just sort of on a constant plane where nothing on the horizon is giving me any kind of a hope that things are going to get better. And I know that feeling, driving in an old beat-up truck. It's a donkey, and I see the other vehicles go by. They're camels, and I'm thinking, there's no way I'm ever going to have a camel. And my vision couldn't even go beyond the car. And I'm not bragging, but fortunately, God's not going to leave you there, and your vision's going to expand. But at that time, like Gideon, hopeless. Things are not going well. And so Gideon, he hides himself in a wine press. And here he is hiding. Why is he hiding? He's doing things secretly now. And you can understand, because there's no food, and he's in there and he's threshing. And eventually they winnow the grain, and eventually they grind it. And he wants to do everything secretly so he don't get caught. And he has those things where he'll be able to use them and have sustenance for his life. So he's working and he's doing his thing. And I kind of thought a little bit, and don't take this offensively, I didn't know if I would say this or not, but do you know that grinding and winnowing and those types of things, women were very much involved in agriculture during those times. And that could have fell in the category of maybe his wife's job or somebody else's job. And so not only is he hiding in fear, he could have been also totally humiliated, because now he's at a place where he's doing things that he considers to be menial. He's doing things that have a mediocrity to it, and he's doing things that are mundane. And he's going through the routine of life, and it's just repeating itself. It's like that Groundhog's Day. You wake up and it's the same thing all over again. And things on the horizon don't seem to be looking any brighter for him. And so you kind of get the picture while he's going through the routines of life, like we all do. We always have to get up in the morning, and we may think our tasks, they're menial. We're doing the same thing over again. We may think that they're mediocre, and we just keep doing it, and we feel as if we should be doing better things, greater things for God. But yet it seems kind of mundane. And here we are. We're in that. In a sense, we're like Gideon. We're grinding it out. He's grinding out that wheat. He's turning it into flour. He's doing everything in secret. And as he's grinding and grinding, obviously, he feels like things aren't going well. So you kind of get the picture. You kind of see where Gideon's at. Nothing new is happening. It's kind of the same thing day after day. It's basically life, not in the lane that we want to be in. It's in the lane where we're looking for something to get better, but it doesn't seem to be coming around. This is the lane that Gideon's in. And he feels the pressure. In fact, it's very much like my sweetheart here. You want to tell him, honey, about how it at work, or no? Okay. But it's what she and everybody goes through this, but I really do think with her, it's like over the top. She'll go to work, and there'll be 200 patients coming in that day, and the girl that's supposed to be there, notoriously, she doesn't show up. And they can't find any help to fill the seat, so she's always doing the work of 2 people. And she gets up in the morning, every morning, knowing, I got to do this again. This time there's 200 patients. And this time I got to get there early because I have to get all their insurance information in. And I want to be able to take a lunch. And nobody cares. And literally it seems like nobody does. And she grinds it out, and she grinds it out. And I'm telling her, quit that job, but she said, I can't. I got Daniel in school, and I help, and it's a long story, but things are getting better, okay? And so we're all in those situations. Gideon's in that situation. He doesn't see any end, and it just seems like it's going to go on, and he can't see any change on the horizon. And it's at that point that we realize, or we see in Gideon's life, things begin to change. And the idea is, and I've always said this to Claudia, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but in this message, I'm going to try to give my opinion on certain things. And actually what we're talking about here is God is really, if you can get a handle on how God works, He doesn't want you to suffer. He doesn't want bad things to happen to you, but He does want to prepare you for something else. And God is making you into something through situations just like Gideon's in right now. He's working in his life, and He's making him into something beyond what he can even think is possible. And so, at that moment, you get a little knock on the door, and guess who shows up? Not late, not early, but on time. Jesus shows up. It says it's the angel of the Lord. And He puts His hand, I kind of vision Him putting His hand on his shoulder and sort of tapping him a little bit. And He says to him, "O mighty warrior." And Gideon, okay, now, are you kind of with me in Gideon's world? Okay, we've all been there, or we could be there right now. In Gideon's world, it's like, what did you just say? Oh, mighty warrior? In fact, what he did say is that in response, and this is where I was going to have a YouTube video, but we had a little crash, so I'm going to explain. It's just a little insert here that will kind of drive home the point. And if you can watch this will probably bring a tear to your eye, and I'll try to explain it. It might be a little complicated to explain. That's why I wanted to play it. Don't explain it.
No, we're not going to watch it.
You're not going to watch it. Okay, well, I better explain it then. Yeah, I know. And we can't get it up there. So I'm going to try to...
But we can put it at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do it justice. And by that, it's on YouTube. It's a short little video. And you have to picture this, okay? There's a woman, and there's another woman. And they talk to each other, and they get to know each other just a little bit. And as they're getting to know each other, they've kind of find out a little bit about the other person, but they're strangers. Then there's an artist. And the artist is, those are kind of fun to watch sometime if you're into that sort of thing. They draw portraits. And so the one woman, she sits in a chair. And the other guy, the artist, he sits in a chair, but they're back to back, and they never seen each other before. And the woman is asked questions by the artist, who can't see her, and he says, okay, tell me about your face, tell me about your chin, tell me about your eyebrows, tell me about your smile, tell me, and so he asks her all these questions, and he draws a picture of her, and you can see the similarities. It's actually really close. And then the second woman, she sits in the chair, and he asks her the same questions. What about your smile, your hair? What's that like? And the artist, he draws the second woman. And now here's where the twist comes in, and it's kind of humorous if you watch it. Now he has the opposite woman sit in the chair, and he asked the opposite woman, describe the person that you met. What do they look like? And so the opposite woman describes the woman that she just met, and they're back to back. The artist can't see her. Now she's describing as if I were describing Ursa. I would say she has, big, beautiful eyes, And so the woman describing the other woman is saying she has big, beautiful eyes, a wonderful smile. Her eyes just seem to radiate. She's got that perfect blonde hair. And she's saying all these things about the woman she met. And when they finish, they put the two pictures together next to each other and they hold them up. And both of them basically started to cry because what the one woman thought of herself, how she looked at herself, was so different than what the other woman saw in her. And when you put the two pictures together, you had two different people. One glowed and had radiation, radiating from her face, and the other one looked grim. And if you would listen to the words this woman would say, both of them would say about themselves, they didn't say anything complimentary, like, well, age is setting in and my chin's starting to fall down, and, I got all this over here, you just can't stay ahead of it. The wrinkles are popping up everywhere, and they describe themselves as if they're about ready to, a week from now, poof. And so the point is, and if you were to have seen the video, it would have been a nice little change. The point is that when you see somebody else looks at you different than the way you think about yourself, they pick up things in you that you don't even see, and they're far more complimentary than what you even think that you have. And so the idea is, if somebody can look at you and see things in you that you don't see in yourself, how much more can God look at us and say, "Oh, mighty warrior"? He sees things that are in us that he wants to develop. You develop those gifts, develop those talents. And he has a way of squeezing it out of us. And he will. He'll squeeze it out. So, men, if you're here for your wives, but this would be a good hint right now to make sure, if you'd watch this video, you'd want to make sure you're always complimenting your wife, because it'll go a long ways. There's no question about how beautiful she is, how she looks so terrific, just like she did when you first met her. Oh, and just have that over. See, she's smiling. It works. I'm telling you. And so, but it is true. And it's a funny little note. Claudia, she likes to take it a little bit further to make sure that she gets noticed, and she likes perfumes. And so she puts this perfume on once, and I said, "Wow, that really smells good, Claudia. That's a good, I don't know where, I don't like perfume, but that smells good." And so here we are, we're at the doctor's office, and we're in the waiting room, and the woman across the counter, she's sniffing, and she goes, "What's that?" And Claudia, Chanel 33, and she goes back in the room where the doctor is, and the nurse is back there. "What is that?" "Chanel 33. And so, make a long story short, when you think you might know everything that you know about your wife, we probably don't know as much as what we should, and definitely don't want to take your spouse for granted. Amen? So Gideon's response, when he said to him, "Oh, mighty man," his response were feelings of inadequacy. How often can we feel like a little inadequate? How often can we feel like we're just not up for it? It just seems like it's a little too much. I'm being pulled in too many directions. It just doesn't seem like I can do what you want me to do, God. I mean, it's over the top. And we have those feelings of inadequacy. And Gideon, when he said, "Oh, mighty man," did anybody know what his response was? He said, "Pardon me, Lord." Very polite, "Pardon me, Lord." Do you have the right person? Pardon me. That's Gideon's response. If we look at other people that God called and spoke to, feelings of inadequacy. Moses, Please, Lord. He's almost begging him. Please, Lord. He wanted out. He said, you're sending me to Egypt to stand before the Pharaoh with a stick? Please, Lord. Can't you get somebody else to do this? And so he complained, and he talked, and he complained. But he said yes. And then you can also look at, he made excuses and different things. And David, they thought he was a child. What are you bringing this child out for? Not only is this guy inadequate to fight Goliath, he's incompetent. What do you think we are? You're going to send a child out? So David, if you would look on the exterior, he looked totally incompetent and inadequate. And Jeremiah, his response was, Lord, and that's what it says, Lord, I don't think so. I'm too young. And his attitude as well, inadequate, not feeling you're up for the job. You're in the Gideon world now. Things are not going well. Things are not getting better. It seems to be the same routine. And you're wondering when you're going to get off of this cycle and things are going to start to change. And not only is that happening, he's starting to feel in his mind, it's affecting him mentally, emotionally. And you know how that goes. When things happen, your mind can be up here one moment, and the next minute it can kind of just fall off the cliff. And he's fallen off the cliff. And Gideon is down there. And so God sees us. And the interesting thing is he sees us and he comes to us during those mundane, kind of menial times where we feel like we should be doing something better, something bigger, something greater. And we feel like we're almost wasting our time, but we have to do it. And we're not sure that, is God going to get me out of this mess? And the answer is yes. He's gonna. And in the process of getting you out, he's preparing you as well for something better. There's one example that I can use, and I probably used it too many times already, but Claudia and I, we used to drive to Platteville, 2-hour drive. Everything was short there and fast. Maybe I spoke 15, 20 minutes, and then I didn't even speak every week. And so I would go there and then 2 hours back to speak 15 minutes. And then come home and it's 4 o'clock and there goes your Sunday. Did it for over 2 years. Each time we would complain on the way back, are we sure we're supposed to do this? I mean, are we really supposed to go out there? But there comes a day, you're ready. Ready for what? You're ready. Oh God, please God. No, you're ready. For what? And the men's group was the first thing, and to have this opportunity is a great opportunity. We still haven't seen what God's going to do, and believe me, I still think he's got something in mind that's going to happen, for us here in the refuge. But what happens before that? There's a refining period. There's a getting ready period. And when you're ready, and ask Hugh, he's been telling me for months, John, you're getting ready for something. You're getting ready for something. And I'm glad he's been telling me these things because he's been an encouragement too. And we have that the Navy SEAL operation that I forget the name. What's the name of the group, Hugh?
Lone Survivor.
Lone Survivor. And it's a group of men that were over in Afghanistan and fighting a war, and it has a story about them and how they prepared. And so it's similar to what Hugh's been telling me for months. There's a preparation period.
It's right straight out of the book of Job.
Right straight out of the book of Job. Yep. Hardship up front, but in the end, God was preparing you for something. I like the idea too, and I want to say this because sometimes if we talk about hardships, we kind of get in a little bit of a panic mode and we think that, oh, my whole life's going to be hardships. Is that what you're saying? You mean every day I'm going to have to deal with something? You mean this is how God works and He's always going to be letting me go through stuff? I mean, at what point do I get to breathe a little bit? Do I always have to be in the middle of something? Do I always have to be stretched? Do my faith always have to be pressured? And the answer to that is sometimes. And if you were to look at the big picture, and I can look over my shoulder, and I can see there are times when you're in a Gideon situation, but they don't last forever. So if somebody's here and you feel you're in the middle of something, take hope. Look up. It doesn't last forever. It's a period of time. And I didn't know I was going to say this, but I'm going to say it because it might be kind of like oversimplifying things what I'm going to say. But my kids, when they were young, and you can probably relate when your kids are young, they want to do all kinds of fun things. And one of the funnest things they just had to absolutely do at least one time a summer was go to Six Flags. And I've been there for like 20 years, you know, back and forth with kids and different things, and maybe 15. But I've been going back and forth. Now it's a little break. I went with Claudia, and that wasn't good because up there spinning around, it didn't go over very well. You know, so I think that was the last time we went. But when I went with my kids, we get on this ride called the Raging Bull. Anybody know the Raging Bull? That thing, it goes up, 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 and it's really modernized. It's a modernized roller coaster. You're strapped in. It's connected solidly to the rails, and you're not going to fall out. I mean, and it's not going to fly off. So things are secure, and it starts going click, 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 and you're starting to hold your breath, you know, as you get towards the top. And you're getting higher and higher, and you're looking down, and you're going, oh my gosh, you start praying, Jesus, 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 you know, and you get to the top, and when you're up at the top of it, you look down, and it goes like whoosh. But you know what? Climbing that hill is the same as these kinds of things of preparation. You might feel like you're struggling and it's not easy. You're going to have to grab every little thing to get to the top, and you keep working at it, and you're sweating, and you know you want to take a break, and you know all of a sudden you feel muscles you have that you didn't think you had, and you're just kind of getting higher and higher, and then you make it there. But the rest of the ride is enjoyable. The rest of the ride, and what I'm trying to say is that we can have goals and ambitions and desires and places that we want to end up and where we want to go, but if you're not enjoying it along the way, you're really missing probably the best part of it. And what you're going to enjoy and what you can enjoy is you can see God do things in people's lives that are really important to you in your own life, and turn situations around and fix them. And it'll happen right before your very eyes. And that's along the journey. That's not like getting to the goal. That's part of the journey. And so He prepares you. You can enjoy the ride. You're going to see things, and God's going to do stuff that you never thought that would happen, or situations that you thought were hopeless. They'll never get turned around. They get turned around, and your jaw drops in amazement. And that's the same thrill as dropping 70 miles an hour, straight down. It's time to hang on to your hat, because God's starting to move, and sometimes He moves fast. And the idea